Okay, so at the end of every flip, I like to do kind of a post-mortem about the biggest mistakes that I made and what I could do differently. So I've done about 50 flips and I have been trying to do this every one I have done. And it's been really, really helpful. And then I put it into a checklist and then I know what not to do again. And then hopefully that kind of justifies in my mind that some of these mistakes weren't just a waste, you know? Okay, I'm gonna take you through this flip. The story of it was sold to me from a wholesaler. So I bought it for $85,000, and the wholesaler, we get to the closing table and I discovered that he had it under contract with the seller for $67,000. So good for him, he made an $18,000 assignment fee, which is great. He did almost as well as I did on this flip. And this was one of my least favorite flips in terms of the process of actually doing it. So backstory is I've used the same workers for the last 40 flips or so. So basically all the flips I've ever done, I've used the same crews. And they got progressively more expensive and they would be missing some minor details. Those minor details were too annoying for me based off all the money I was spending. I didn't mind paying a little bit of a higher price point for him if his work remained the same. We had a disagreement over that and we went our own separate ways. I decided to jump in and try to do some of the repairs myself on this flip. And that is something that I will never do again. And so as you can see here with this, it looks like I pulled the floors up on this house when I first bought it. However, the guy was actually living in there with no floors in there. It was on a slab, but he had no floors and it had roaches everywhere and it was just caked. I mean, literally caked and caked and caked with tobacco and like tar. Anyway, he had smoked probably in the house for about 40 years. And I took out a hard money loan on this one because I had full up on investments at the time. All the products that I use and everything in this flip, I'm going to put affiliate links down there. So the first thing I started off with is finding comps. Let's just do a quick general house flip 101. You want to find comps in the area. And we had a really good comp at I think 150,000, same square footage, around the same year built, same bed and bath. This was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, a large amount of land, which was really, really good. And our comp was just a few doors down and had sold within 6 months. So I knew it was a great comp to go off of. I started off with getting a friend, which was very helpful. And then I TSP'd it. TSP is a solution, and I put a link down below as well to that. And what it does is it takes all the grime off the walls. And it was the best thing I've ever used for something like that. If I had to do it again, this was such a severe case, I would definitely use TSP again. But if it was a less severe case and it just had, you know, maybe a few stains or something cosmetic on there, I would just have done a coat of Kiehl's, like a Kiehl's oil-based primer. And there's links to that as well. If you don't have a professional paint sprayer, which I don't recommend for anybody but like a professional painter, there's an excellent one that I've used to paint a couple fences of mine. And I'll link that below as well. Like I said, I've done about 50 of these and I have tons of notes about everything I've ever done wrong. So if you want to work with me in any way, one-on-one coaching, I don't do a lot of it, but I do some of it because it's fun for me. I actually really do like it. I know a lot of people just do it to make money and make cash. I make my money off flips and rentals, but it's kind of fun to work with somebody because I like that energy of someone new coming into the business. If they have questions that they can't figure out, I remember being very intimidating. I did not have a good circle around me when I first started, and that was just as hard as finding the deals or something like that. I know that I would be way more successful than I am now, and I'm sure I would have done hundreds of flips by this point as opposed to, 50 plus if I would have surrounded myself with the right people. So I like the energy of being around people. That is what I get from coaching, and if you want to jump in on that, please let me know. Shoot me an email. I have a one-on-one coaching form too for the people I've been working with. The mortgage payment, I think, was something around $900 a month. I took a construction loan of I took a construction holdback of about $25,000 on this one. I think we used it all at the end. The cabinets were in good condition. You can see me working with them right now. So they didn't really need anything. We sanded them down and oil-based primed them. And then we did every room. I mean, that took about a week just to do. And then what took way longer than I thought it was going to, we had a 16 by 20 tile floor that I wanted to rip up. And you have to be really careful because there was some certain chemicals they used in the sealant of tiles back in like the 70s and I believe also early 80s. and you want to wear a mask when you're busting up tile. A lot of people don't wear a mask busting up tile, but you really should. That is something that could be really unhealthy, and we want to do a lot of flips. We don't want to just do one and then die. I just did it by hand, and that was not the vibe. That was something I shouldn't have done. It took forever. It was very painful. I think I had knee pads, but it was still really painful, and it just took a long time. So we eventually retiled it. The countertops were actually fine. They were a material where you could just sand them, and we just put like, I think, epoxy over them again. They were fine. We replaced the sink. You can see all that. Cabinets can be saved a lot of times. I think the majority of my flips, I've kept cabinets. They just take a lot to sand down. The trick on making cabinets look a little fresh is to replace kind of the hardware and the brackets on there, because you don't want to mess around with trying to get them clean. They never clean off well enough, and in addition, to replace them for a whole kitchen is probably $100. So don't skimp on that. And I always try to leave something in the budget for tile backsplash. What you really want to think when you're thinking about the design choices and the design elements of the flip, you want to say, what will catch someone's attention in the 2 to 3 seconds that I have them looking on the internet, clicking around for this. We did not replace the windows. Here's the thing, since we didn't have a big after repair value ARV on this property, you can only design so much. People come and slide into my DMs on Instagram and stuff like that all the time when I post my before and after flip pics, and they say, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Yeah, of course, I would love to put granite countertops and everything, but then that makes it cost prohibitive, and you can't go over the comps very much and still retain your large buyer base. Now, we have a very low inventory in my area for first-time home buyers, and I stick into that first-time home buyer resale point. We did get a brand new refrigerator on there. In order to, we make everything be able to pass an FHA loan. So FHA loans have certain conditions that you have to meet in order for someone to get a loan for an FHA. And since we're in that first time home buyer price point, we have to make sure that these homes go FHA, because we bring everything up to standards where an FHA loan will be able to buy that property. Because a lot of times these houses will not be able to get an FHA loan on it unless you do the things like we do, like put in new appliances and make sure the HVAC works and make sure the roof is okay and stuff like that. And without that, that excludes a lot of first-time home buyers too. So to bring that up to FHA standards gives us that first-time home buyer market. So that's the strategy that I'm in. We replaced those doors going out to the backyard. That was, I think, about $1,200 because it was hard to fit in, and I had to call some guys to help. And I couldn't get those glass panes clean, because what happens is if you have two slabs of glass or whatever, and one kind of cracks, moisture seeps in, and that gives it foggy mirror appearance, and there's really nothing you can do. You can't clean them. You kind of just have to throw them away. We retiled. We did not replace the vanities or anything in the bathrooms. Once again, we had to make a little bit of profit here and still be able to retain and sell to that first-time home buyer. We put down flooring, which was very easy, just tongue and groove flooring that you can get a tool from Lowe's or Home Depot and do it all by hand. You can really do it in about a day and a half. Paint and flooring is something beginners can do. Once you get past that, it's a little tough. And we redid the tile in the bathroom. We did not scrape the popcorn ceilings. We did in the bathrooms, but we did not in the living room. And we did some exterior paint as well, and the yard was a mess, so we fixed the yard too. And since it was a half acre, that was really expensive. So when we went time to list it, the comps had changed a little bit, so more things had closed. So I was able to push the envelope a little bit. And since this is an upward market that we're in and have been in for about 60 odd months now, I always add maybe 1% to 2% higher than what I think the comps will be. That leaves us some negotiation room. And also 9 times out of 10, we're going to be able to push that with the appraiser, and they'll be lenient, and because they'll understand that the market is an increasing market. So I think I listed it for $157 right here. And then we have realtor fees. I listed it myself. If you're going to do more than 2 or 3 flips a year, I would consider getting a real estate license. You have to pay your fees, your E&O insurance, sign on to a brokerage, and you have to pay your MLS dues, which can be about $2,000 to $3,000 a year cumulatively for all that, and your realtor fees. But if you're doing about 2 or 3, it usually is worth it. And so I listed it myself, and I like the immediacy of being able to respond to an offer really fast, especially in this climate. and to negotiate on your own behalf, because no one's going to care about your stuff like you do, and you know everything that went into the property. I gave the buyer agent 2.5% as opposed to 3%. I just knocked 0.5% off of it. And so if we take that and times it by 997.5, we get 153. They asked for closing costs. You see that a lot in first-time home buyers. They will ask for closing costs to be paid by the seller, which was me, and that allows, gosh, like $3,500 in closing costs, maybe more. So that allows the buyer to wrap up their closing costs into their mortgage. If the seller pays it, like me, and they agree, the buyer agrees to pay 153, but I give them 3% back in seller concessions, seller paid closing costs, then they wrap it up into their mortgage, which means they just have to come to the table with less money. That brings my net to 149 so far. And then we have $500 in attorney's fees on the seller side. We have deed stamps, which is a county tax, and that is 3.7 per every 1,000. So at 140, well, the price would be 153, so it'd be 153 times 3.7. Let's just say another 500 in deed stamps. I had a photographer for 175. I had a lawn guy who came a couple times. Let's just say 500 for the lawn. And then we have that $25,000 rehab budget. That includes a dumpster. That includes all the materials, like I said, linked below, and then minus the whatever I bought it for, $85,000, and then also minus the mortgage payments I was making. I held onto this property way longer than I thought I was going to because I was doing other work myself, and I just did not have the energy to get it done, and I had a million other projects going on at the same time. Let's just say it was a 5-month period, and I usually get those bad boys done in 1 month, and then it usually takes about 3 months to sell. Let's just say this was 5 months, and let's just round up the mortgage to about $1,000 a month. So that's $5,000, and then there's another cost, and then there's initial points up front of the mortgage, and I think they charge 3 percentage points, which is about $3,000. So these are roundabout numbers. When it's all said and done, we made about $29,000. I said we, but it's me. About $29,000 from that. And then of course you have your taxes and stuff like that. Around a 20 to 30% cash on cash return, cash in versus cash out with profit, is where I want to be. However, I've been letting my margins get lower and lower, which is kind of a risky, dangerous game in flipping. However, the market has been really, really good. So I felt that over the last couple of years, I could get kind of smaller margins and be okay with that because I know that there's a return there. It's a risky strategy. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just telling you my own personal reasons about why I did it, how it's working for me, and take it or leave it. If you have any questions, let me know. Hope this really helped. I will never do some of the things I did again, but I've learned, and that's really, really great. Another big tip I would give you is to have a big safety net. 3 to 6 months of expenses easily saved in your just cash checking account, whatever it is, so you can get to them pretty easily and readily if you need it, because there are, even after doing 50 of these, there are so many expenses that just pop up that the name of the game in flipping is speed. So if you can't pay for things really quickly, you're gonna have that asset longer, and there's carrying costs with that because this hard money is very expensive, and you wanna be in and out of these as quickly as possible. Keep that in mind. Drop me any kind of questions. I love answering questions, and questions are great for me because they give me topic ideas for new videos. Hope that helped. Hope you learned something. I know I did. Enjoy. Thanks so much.